That day, Misa learned from Yoriko that Wataru had arranged for her to see a highly skilled doctor a few days earlier. Thanks to Wataru's help, she was able to transfer to another hospital for surgery. Before her rebirth, Misa herself had been suffering from cancer, but now it had spread to Yoriko, leaving her feeling overwhelmed with guilt and sadness. However, they couldn't contact Wataru. Miku asked her father, but he said he hadn't been at the office recently. Thankfully, they found a clue on Wataru's computer. He had left for Misa's hometown. To confirm whether he was away for work, Miko went outside and called her father again. As soon as she left, Misa discovered a big secret. Every event Wataru had marked on his calendar was closely connected to both of them. It was then that Misa realized Wataru was also a reborn person. Wataru's car accident happened just a few days later and, coincidentally, in Misa's hometown. Fearing a repeat of history, he decided to head to Misa's hometown. Meanwhile, Wataru called Tomoya, wanting to meet him to discuss something. After Wataru finished paying respects to Misa's deceased father, Tomoya arrived by car. At Wataru's invitation, Tomoya got in the car. Tomoya naively believed Wataru was genuinely there to discuss business, but his true intention was to perish alongside him. Fortunately, only in this way could Misa survive. Within a short distance of the car accident in his previous life, Wataru suddenly stepped on the accelerator, accelerating dramatically. This bizarre behavior frightened Tomoya, who was in the passenger seat, so much so that he broke out in a cold sweat and was at a loss for words. Just as they were about to plunge off the bridge, Misa was already waiting there. Thankfully, no tragedy ensued, and the car came to a safe and stable stop. Then Tomoya got out of the car, and the two of them drove away, leaving Tomoya alone on the cold bridge. Tomoya was confused. Why would Wataru do this, and why was Misa here? They found a relatively empty spot to stop, and Wataru told her everything about himself. Before his rebirth, Wataru's sole purpose in coming to Toyama was to hope that Misa could rest in peace there. After all, Misa would find peace by her father's side. If Yoriko's surgery was successful, she would be able to metastasize the cancer. Wataru had to find a replacement, just in case. The best candidate was Tomoya, because that would allow Misa to truly be free. Misa didn't want her friends to be implicated by her own affairs. Wataru slowly approached Misa and spoke the words buried deep within. "I've always had you in my heart, but I wasn't able to play a role in your life. I deeply regret this, so I've been reborn." Wataru pulled the origami shaped like a turtle from his pocket. "Your father gave it to me when I was riding in his taxi." It turned out that Wataru had been in a car accident while escorting Misa's ashes to her father's grave. When he woke up, he was in Misa's father's car. This was their second meeting. The last time they met was when they were in college. Because the school was so large, Wataru hadn't found his daughter yet, so he acted as a guide and wandered around for several hours. Then, Misa's father handed him an origami and a handful of candy. When Wataru opened his eyes again, he found himself on a bridge. He pulled out his phone and saw the time was 10 years ago. With his doubts in mind, Wataru arrived at a place and discovered that everything displayed around him was from 2015. At this point, he finally became convinced that he had been reborn. As he was about to go to work, Wataru happened to meet the newly reborn Misa in the elevator. When Misa was pushed downstairs by her boyfriend and best friend, she had also been in her father's car from the hospital to her home. But as if his memory had been erased, her father also gave her an origami and a handful of candy before getting out of the car. Wataru slowly took Misa's hand and handed her the origami shaped like a turtle. Wataru said he has no regrets in his second life. But Misa had the opposite idea. She wanted him to be part of her future life. Misa didn't want to be helped or protected. She hoped they could continue on together. Misa believed there must be a successful way to transfer the tragic experience onto the evildoers. They then embraced each other tightly and returned to the beach, strolling and chatting. However, they soon received a call from Miku, saying she had seen a group of photos on Reina's social media account of a visit to Misa's hometown. Misa was completely surprised that her former best friend would actually set her sights on her grandmother. At that moment, Reina was wheeling Misa's grandmother into the snow. Misa and Wataru then split up to search for her grandmother. Thankfully, Misa soon found Reina alone, but there was no sign of her grandmother. In a moment of panic, Reina pinned Misa to the ground. Just as Reina was about to kill her, Wataru's voice suddenly reached her from afar. Reina let go, ready to prepare for her next move. When Wataru saw Misa lying in the snow, He hugged her tightly and shared some good news. He had just found his grandmother and had brought her back safely. After a long walk in the snow, Tomoya finally found a convenience store. Tomoya not only charged his dead phone, but also filled his hungry stomach. Tomoya suddenly received a call from his mother. Reina had beaten her, breaking her nose and causing heavy bleeding. As soon as he hung up, Reina appeared at the window and Tomoya's demeanor shifted. In the past, Tomoya would have fought tooth and nail against anyone who dared to treat his mother like that. But now he stood by his wife, supporting her regardless of the consequences. He also suggested that they go to Hawaii for their honeymoon together after everything had settled. But Reina got off the bus halfway, saying she was too embarrassed to see her mother-in-law and wanted to visit them later. A few days later, Tomoya received a call from his wife. Reina panicked and told her husband that she had just visited her mother-in-law at the hospital and found her in a coma, her condition extremely critical. Tomoya, without giving it much thought, prepared to go. After the car had driven some distance, Reina told him it was all a conspiracy. Recently, she had noticed Tomoya browsing online for tips on committing the perfect crime. When they were first married, her mother-in-law had pressured Tomoya into buying insurance. A series of bizarre events had made her acutely aware that something was amiss. She immediately retaliated, using a payphone to trick the man into driving to the hospital. In reality, she had secretly tampered with the car. The brakes had completely failed. In his final moments, Tomoya called Misa, sincerely apologizing for his past actions and promising to cherish and care for her even more if he could do it over again. The car then had an accident, crashing into a nearby guardrail. Tomoya was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Through a final phone call, the police quickly located Misa and Wataru. After negotiations, the police ultimately decided to coordinate their efforts to apprehend the suspect, Reina. The next morning, Wataru received a call from Reina. Reina hoped to have a final, heart-to-heart talk with her only friend, Misa, before her arrest. However, Wataru did not inform Misa of the incident, instead choosing to report it to the police, intent on bringing Wataru to justice. What he didn't realize was that Reina had anticipated all of this. She appeared as a waitress and informed Misa, who was heading to the memorial service, that she was in danger. Because Reina had sent the lewd section chief from before, if she wanted to see Misa alive, she had to follow her. Reina threatened, "If you want to save Misa, kiss me first." To save Misa, Wataru pretended to agree. Wataru deliberately loosened his seatbelt and leaned forward. Just as Reina was secretly congratulating herself on the success of her plan, Wataru suddenly reached out and grabbed her by the neck. As Wataru continued to demand where Misa had been taken, Reina suddenly stabbed him in the abdomen. The roles of prey and hunter suddenly reversed, and the wounded Wataru slowly sat back down in his chair. After dealing with this troublesome figure, Reina moved on to deal with another. When Misa awoke and opened her eyes, she saw them at the amusement park, riding the same Ferris wheel as they had in their childhood. Reina cherished this current relationship. She showed Misa the bracelet she had recently knitted and prepared one for her as well. Under Reina's loud scolding, she forcibly put it on Misa's unwilling hand. Misa demanded Reina's intentions. Reina then explained her true intentions behind the kidnapping, hoping that both parties could sit down and discuss things calmly. She confessed that she had been contemplating her future, and that without Misa's presence, she felt lost. Her presence alone provided her with inspiration. However, Misa immediately saw through Reina's scheme and broke up with her, declaring they would never see each other again. Reina declared that they would never be apart again. Misa then revealed her rebirth and revealed that she had been killed by her. However, Misa now believed that it was all Reina's fault, as she didn't know her well enough at the time. Misa's life today is far happier than Reina's. Hearing this, Reina's emotions suddenly lost control, and she whipped out a knife, muttering that her life would never be reconciled. Reina intended to die with Misa, planning to kill her first and then jump to her own death. Meanwhile, the former section chief had locked the rotating Ferris wheel and installed a lock on the equipment. Just when everyone thought everything was going smoothly, the injured Wataru appeared, shattered the glass with a punch, and knocked the former section chief unconscious with a kick. Suddenly, the door to the car flung open and Reina nearly fell. Fortunately, Misa intervened and caught her. After a moment's reflection, she resolved to die, unwilling to implicate others, and chose to plunge straight down from the height. Wataru and Misa embraced each other, but Wataru, due to excessive blood loss, remained unconscious. After hearing the news, the family arrived, and Miko and Misa remained by the bedside. While in a coma, Wataru dreamed of his beloved mother, who urged him to stop worrying and cling to his beloved and return home to be with his beloved. Even further down the road, Tomoya, who had been seriously injured, had just been pronounced dead by a doctor. Soon after, Wataru regained consciousness, having discovered that the effects of the car accident that had occurred before his rebirth had been transferred to Tomoya. At the end of the film, Misa's cancer and Wataru's car accident were transferred to other people. Tomoya and Reina were buried together, and as a former friend, she visited them. After a period of treatment, Wataru successfully recovered, and a special ceremony was prepared for him. Yuriko, another cancer patient, successfully controlled her condition with the help of doctors and is now in good health. She later revealed that while she was receiving treatment, her husband unexpectedly ended his relationship with the university student and even took on household chores for the first time, taking care of their daughter's school chores. Even so, Yuriko had no intention of continuing with her husband and filed for divorce. Meanwhile, after spending some time with Yudo, Mika gradually developed a fondness for him. Taking advantage of the beautiful night, she confessed her feelings to Yudo. As Misa drove back, she encountered her father and his car, which then drove off in different directions. For this kind-hearted father, he had done his utmost to transform his precious daughter's happiness from a difficult situation into a fulfilling one. At this moment, his mission was accomplished, and he could leave with no regrets. For Misa, after her rebirth, she not only changed her fate, but also found her purpose in life and a beloved person who could support her for the rest of her life.